here at Shippensburg come to their feet in expectation of something special. Craig Miller, who many believe will be capable of threatening a 4-minute mile, perhaps in a national caliber meet where he has better competition. Not to say his competition today will not be strong, but he will be with his brother Brad, the two Manheim Township runners, the two top seeds here in AAA boys in the mile run. And so many different factors come into play. I mean, it has only happened 4 times in the history of this country. A high school runner going sub 4 minutes in the mile. The most recent was Alan Webb in 2001. Prior to him, Jim Ryan did it in 1965, Tim Danielson in 1966, and of course, Marty LaCourrie in 1967. The national record of 3:59.51. And let's just say he could flirt with it.
Yeah, that would be a good way of saying it. You know, it's interesting. Those 3 guys did it in the 60s, but bang, bang, bang. The long drop off the Webb has done it. I think today it will be tough. And the reason I think it'll be tough because no one will be running with him at that caliber. There's some great runners in this race, don't get me wrong, but I think he needs to have 3 or 4 guys pushing him all 4 laps to do that. And I think it's tough to go out there and run off on your own like this. However, he is well rested. In the district meet last week, he ran the 3200 on Friday night. By the way, setting a new district record held by Steve Spence.
Yeah, not bad company there.
Not bad company at all. And then ran the 800 and won that. Would have been the top seed in the 800 here, but scratched out of that before last week, so he could run the 1600. No relays at the end. And he's you know, he only had to run 1 trial for the 1600. Now he's fresh. So all eyes as the start goes off on Miller here, Craig Miller from Manheim Township.
You have to feel if he scratched out of all those events, his goal was to go low here today.
That's it.
The question is now, how low can he go, and can his brother Brad Miller push him? They're going to be wearing identical uniforms, and right away, Craig Miller and Brad Miller out to set the pace with Sean Doyle of North Penn, the number 3 seed, but Craig Miller already out in front and pulling away already, which may be an interesting strategic decision.
Well, I think it's just like Wise in the 3200. If you're going to run your fastest time, you're going to have to go out and set the pace yourself, and he has to set the pace himself. And you know,
well, he's going for it. I mean, look at this, Craig, already.
Well, obviously, to go 4 minutes, you got to run 60-second laps. That's an easy math to figure out in here. Right. And let's see what he does as he comes up on the first 400.
He's going to do it here, likely, as we keep an eye on the clock. Craig Miller is right at 59. 59.5 was his first split.
But not a lot of room to spare. Now he's got to keep running hard here during this second lap. This is the tough one, 2nd and 3rd. Well, you see the race already. It is all by himself, as everyone thought it would be. I think it'd be interesting, you know, you sort of root for Brad a little bit, because when do you see twins take 1-2 in a state meet?
Well, that does not happen often, but this is all Craig right now. I think everybody's rooting for the 4-minute time more than anything else.
On it right there. He's 1:30 at the 200 mark, so he's running 30-second 200s. We'll keep track of that and see how it goes through. First one was at, as we mentioned, 60, then he came through at 90. He needs to be obviously at 2 minutes as he comes down here. This guy is a stud, there is no doubt. A man among boys. He is quite the distance runner.
Well, we said he would flirt with it. The crowd urging him to the line. He's more than flirting with it right now. He's got his phone number as he comes to the start-finish line, and I think he's going to be just short. It's going to be a 2:01, so he's got to pick up the pace now. 2 laps to go. You see the state record in AAA set by Craig Miller last year. The all-time state record in this meet is a 4:03 by Vandergrift.
Man, and he's running.
Again, keep in mind, only 4 people have ever run a 4-minute mile in high school, and Miller is going for it right now. He's a little slow at the pace. Maybe he can pick something up here. Here it comes to the 250, and it's 2:30 right on the
right on it. He made it up. He made it up. He ran a 29-second one, and this is the tough part right now. The fans are starting to get on their feet and cheer him on.
Craig Miller, Manheim Township, trying to become just the 5th high school athlete ever to run a 4-minute mile. He is on pace to do it. As the crowd rises to its feet, we're coming down on 1 lap to go. We'll keep an eye on the split. He's got to be right at 3 minutes. To be on pace, he's going to be a little slow at that pace by 2 seconds. So can he run a 58 in the final mile? He does not look as strong as he did in the first lap.
but I think he can come back with a 58. I think he can do that. He is capable of that. This is the hard part right now. He's pushing himself pretty much through this one as he gets to that 200 mark, and then you got the crowd coming down the end. I think he can do it.
Everybody on the crowd is on its feet. Craig Miller attempting to become just the 5th high school runner to ever run a 4-minute mile, but he is way off the pace now.
Yeah, he's tightened up.
He is really tightened up. 3:35 as he hits the 200. He is not going to do it.
No, you can tell that he is struggling, but he went out and gave it the great effort on that one.
For 3 laps, he had this crowd believing that he could go 4 minutes, and that, I think, is all we can ask of Craig Miller. He's going to go low 4, and the crowd again rises to its feet. Craig Miller is going to break his own state record, and maybe next year will be the year, or maybe this year, this summer, will be the time when he becomes the 5th high school athlete to go sub 4 minutes. But it's not going to happen today, and in fact, he may not even break his state record. Miller really hitting the wall on his final lap and goes 4:11.8, and second place at the line will go to Brandon Pomerantz of Council Rock North. So 4:11.98, but again, I think the big thing to keep in mind as we look back on this 6 months or a year from now, for 3 laps and change, he had the crowd believing he could do it, and he almost did.
Well, that's the only way you could do it too. You had to go out. If you're not at 3, it's hard to do it. You got to be at 3 minutes at the 3/4 mark, and that's what he tended to do. And he went out and ran the race, tried to do it. He had a great line. He had the crowd believing. He had us all believing. 58 was not impossible for him to come running back. Now you see he is really tightened up here. The head starts bobbing a little bit. He's looking down. He's just saying, "Please get me to the finish line," because this one hurts right now. But after running that fast for 3/4 of a mile, I can understand that. Still, I don't know. A little smile is that, a little bit on his face here. He's like, okay, I made it, but great effort. Just a great effort.
Do you think it could happen as soon as this summer for him?
Oh, yeah. I don't think that's going to be a problem. I think, you get someone pulling you through those. Remember, all 3 of those first 3 laps was all by himself. You get someone pulling him through, someone up there with him and setting, not necessarily setting the pace. He can do that on his own, but being right there with him, pushing him step by step, I think it can happen. You don't use as much energy when you have someone there, and it is possible.
And the question next year, will he set up his state meet the same way he did this year? Clearly, he set it up to go for it. As we mentioned, scratched out of the 3200, scratched out of a relay, scratched out of the 800. This was the event he was focusing on, and right away you knew he was going to go for it. Weather conditions may have had a part of it, but the fact he was unpressed probably a bigger part of it.
Well, I think so. It was just fun to watch for 3 laps. And
we were all believing, weren't we?
We were. I thought he could come back in a 58. He actually struggled through and came back in a 69, and you could see it after with 300 to go that it wasn't going to be. Starting to tighten up a little bit there, and you knew that he had hit the wall. He was done, but he wasn't going to give up. He hung on there and still came back with a 69, which is impressive enough after running almost 3 flat through the first 3 quarters.
Is there a certain irony that there's this vibe of disappointment in here for somebody who just ran a 4:11?
Yeah.
Can you believe that?
Let's just go around and slap everybody. Guy runs a 4:11, and there we are. It was just a great race. Actually, everybody had a great race. 5th place was 4:17.
Yeah,
his
and that
brother.
was Radnor.
Yeah, it wasn't bad at all.
So the crowd trying to bundle up, stay warm, and stay dry. It is not a driving rainstorm right now, but it is enough of a rainstorm to, as Greg mentioned earlier, put the pole vault indoors and the high jump indoors. But we press on to the track, still to come. The 400-meter dash. We have the 4x1 relay coming up, the 300 hurdles, the 800-meter run. And we'll wind it all up with the 4x4. We also have the 200, obviously. We have more events coming up from the field. We're going to check in on Ryan Whiting and his shot put effort today. A chance to throw 70 feet. We already know what happened, but we don't want to spoil it for you yet. Just stay with us. We'll see Reagan's attempt at maybe going 13 in the pole vault today, despite the foul weather as well. So a lot to look forward to here in our remaining hours of coverage here on PCN. The 400 is next for the girls AA. And the infield is a lonely place, not only for this particular athlete, but basically for everyone. Everybody is scurried under the tents. A lot of action has moved inside the Huggins Fieldhouse.